Hello again, everyone. I'm excited to be with you today to share from God's Word. So today I want to talk about 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. But first, I want to give you a little background and context of this letter that Peter has written. So it says in verse 1 of chapter 1 of the first letter that Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to those who are elect exiles of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Now, this establishes that Peter is the author of this letter and that this is his audience. So all 5 of these areas that Peter has mentioned are in the northern part of Asia, which is now modern-day Turkey. So his audience was the Jewish believers, but today's passage applies to Christians as well as the believers that he was writing to. Now, a lot of these Jews were present at Pentecost when Peter preached there over 3 decades earlier, and that can be found in Acts chapter 2, verses 9, if you want to look back at that in your own time. Now, Peter is writing to them as they face persecution where they are located at the time that he wrote this letter. So now let's look at today's passage, which is chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. It says, "Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world." So Peter has just given instructions before this passage to the elders as well as the younger believers. He tells them to clothe themselves with humility and to cast all their anxieties on him, to cast all their anxieties on God. Now, why would Peter follow up talking about humility and casting their anxieties on him with talking about being sober-minded and watchful because of their adversary, the devil? I believe it's because the devil will often come at us when we are suffering, when we are facing persecution, as these believers were, but also when we are consumed with worry, when we are consumed with anxiety, as well as not being humble or being prideful in our daily lives. So let's take a minute to break down these 2 verses. First, he says, be sober-minded and watchful. Sober-minded here simply means to be alert and to recognize who our adversary is and what his purpose is. So our adversary, Peter says, is the devil, and he says that his purpose is to devour us. So that is to be sober-minded, to be aware of our adversary, the devil, and his purpose, to devour us. To be watchful is to be on the lookout for the ways that he may try to devour us, but also to be on the lookout for any worry or any anxiety or any pride that tries to creep into our lives. So if you take a hungry lion, like he is sneaking around the jungle or wherever he's located very quietly, very subtly, and he is seeking someone to devour because he is hungry. And then when he finds his prey, one that is not paying attention to him coming at them, that is when he will strike. That is when he will be on the attack. So think of the devil in the same way when it comes to him pursuing us as Christians, as followers of Christ. So we cannot let our guard down. In verse 9, Peter says to resist him, being firm in our faith, and that is very important. Knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. Now, the reason that that's so important is because it is very hard to feel like we are suffering alone, right? So he reminds these believers that others are suffering as well. So be firm in their faith. As I mentioned earlier, this applies to Christians today. It applies to believers and followers of Christ today, whether we are facing persecution or any other form of suffering that we experience. And we will suffer in this life for Jesus Christ. We will suffer as followers of Jesus Christ, whether it's persecution for our faith, whether it's health issues, whether it's financial problems, relational issues, whatever it may be, we will suffer. But this passage gives us a warning and an encouragement. It warns us to be sober-minded and watchful because of the devil. Our adversary is seeking to devour us, but it also encourages us to be firm in our faith, remembering that we do not suffer alone. So we can lean on our brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ in our times of suffering. And this is such a powerful message. I hope and I pray that it stirs your heart the same way that it has stirred mine. I pray that you make it a great day and live your life for Jesus Christ.